Good morning. I am back with another video. Listen, this content creation life, it is craziness because why was I in the middle of recording this video and my SD card was full? Very much full. But nonetheless, here we are. I am somewhat rushing to do my hair and makeup because I need to record a few pieces of content before I log on to work for the day. Um, and so I'm behind schedule and all the things, but I'm determined. I was like, we're getting this content recorded, come hell or high water. Like, I normally flat iron my hair way better than this, but it's gonna have to give whatever it's given. Nonetheless, this morning I want to tell the story of how I got my job at NASA. Side note, I worked at NASA. I don't know if I've mentioned it here on this channel. Probably not. But yes, I worked at NASA. I was not an engineer. I worked as an executive speechwriter and a communication strategist. I did that for about a year before deciding that government work was not for me. But I know that I've never told the story publicly about how that job came to be and like what I did and all the things I learned. And so I felt it would be a great story time as I do my hair and makeup. So let's get into it. It is 2014. No, it's 2013. Wow, it's actually 2013. I'm going to start with college. It's 2013, fall 2013. I'm attending Delaware State University in Dover, Delaware. I'm a proud HBCU graduate of the illustrious Delaware State University. Long story short, y'all know how organizations come to campus to, recruit and talk about the different internships and all of that. I was one of those students where I don't care what organization you were from, what company you were from, I was going because if you had an opportunity, if there was something I could do, then I was going to be there. Long story short, I guess for some context, I was a mass communications major and my concentration was in journalism. At the time, I really don't know what I thought I was going to do with my degree. I just knew I could write very well and I liked talking and I liked mass media. Like social media was just starting to pop. Nonetheless, NASA was on site and you know how the Career Center sends you the email and it said all majors welcome. So I'm like, okay, I mean, I know it's NASA, but they said all majors, so let's go. Long story short, I feel like I say that a lot and the story be real long, but I went to the information session. I feel like it was a white lady there. I don't fully remember, but I feel like it was a white lady and obviously she gave us the information. I remember going up to her afterwards and asking her like, hey, I am a communications major. Would this be fitting for me? And she was like, oh my gosh, yes. When we say all majors, we mean all majors. There are positions, for communications majors. So I was like, okay, cool. So I applied to the internship. Now, mind you, I didn't even tell y'all, this is my freshman year. Like fall 2013 was my freshman year of college. So I applied to the internship and I don't hear back for a couple of months. This was maybe like October, November-ish. It was before the holidays. So anyways, don't hear back for a couple of months. And then January comes around. I want to pin this. January comes around and your girl hears back. Your girl got the internship at NASA, okay? So I was like, oh my God, this is so great. Like, what am I going to be doing? I'm all excited. Long story short, I end up having a couple of interviews with their Office of Strategic Analysis and Communications. Now, again, I had no idea that this existed in the context of NASA. I was obviously still a freshman, still very new to what this major could offer, and I wasn't totally sure what I wanted to do. I just know I needed to set myself up for success and get a job post graduation. I'm just curling his hair all which way. So this is what happens when you rush, just doing anything. So anyways, end up having my interview. Wait, pause story. I forgot an important part. No, that didn't come till later. Okay, never mind. Fast forward. End up having my interview. It goes well, and they offer me the summer position. And I'm like, I'm a whole freshman who just secured an internship for the summer after my freshman year at NASA. Like, yes, NASA. You heard it correctly. So of course I was excited, nervous. It took a lot of planning for the logistics because I was in college in Delaware, like I mentioned, but the internship was in Huntsville, Alabama. Pause story. I don't think I gave you the information that NASA has 10 different locations that we call centers. They call them centers. Most people know about the Cape Canaveral Center and Houston, because obviously Houston, we have a problem. But there is a center in Alabama, in Huntsville, Alabama, about an hour and a half from where I was born and raised in Birmingham. So it was perfect because I was going to at least be close to home for the summer, although I was in college in Delaware. So when I say it took logistics and a lot of logistics and planning, I had to figure out, okay, damn, I got to fly there, pack my stuff up, find housing, all the things. Luckily, NASA did help with some of that stuff. And so essentially it was smooth sailing. But that's not the point of the story. I wanted to just give you the context. I feel like the story is all over the place, but here we are. We're just gonna roll with it. Get the internship, get there on my first day, which was like June 1st maybe, and I meet with my manager, with my mentor / manager, who's a Black man. Shout out to Chris. He is super dope. He was an engineer. I meet with my manager, Chris, who's an engineer, and then I meet with his manager, Kevin. Kevin was not an engineer, and Kevin is important to this story. I hope it's okay that I say these people's names. Anyways, meet with Chris. He's cool. He's like, we're going to have a great time this summer. Your resume looks great. You know, we're excited to have you, blah, 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 whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. So I'm like, okay, yay. This is where my life changed, y'all. I met with Kevin. Now, Kevin is, in so many words, Chris's boss, but not his direct boss. Like, it's a lot of structure and hierarchy. That's not a word, but I made it a word at NASA. So I meet with Kevin, and he's like, we're just so happy to have you. Like, everybody's really, really nice. I want to share with you that I went to Morgan State University, which is not too far from Delaware State University. And so I was like, oh yeah, I know about Morgan State, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, I used to party at Del State back in the day. And when I saw your application, I'm like, I got to give this young lady a chance. And y'all, I have never forgotten that part of the story. Like, I forgot a lot of stuff about that summer and summers after, but I've never forgotten that part of the story because you literally never know. That's why I currently have this motto that people have to tell me no. Like, I don't count myself out of anything. You have to tell me no, because you never know who's on the other side of the decision. So meet with Kevin. We a kiki. He's asking how Del State is, like all the things. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so great. You know, I'm a freshman, but I'm really involved. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, working at the campus radio station. Just all the things, right? So we catching up. But I was just really touched by the fact that he didn't choose me only because I went to Del State. Obviously, I had the credentials, but it was a factor. And I was just like, Wow. That taught me a very important lesson about you literally never know. I'm telling y'all. So, have a great summer. Remember, I'm working with the Office of Strategic Analysis and Communications. Essentially, what that office does is it is the comms office, and they are responsible for strategically thinking about any messaging that comes out of that particular NASA center. Now, remember, NASA has 10 centers, also called locations, and all of these centers are responsible for their own messaging to the local community, the national community, the research community, so on and so forth. The headquarters location, which is in DC, they are responsible for high level total NASA administrative messaging. So they like report to Congress and all of that type of stuff. So anyways, this office also was home to like the community events team. It was just a lot, like communications, events, some STEM education came out of this office. It was just a really very matrix dynamic, and I got exposure to all of that. Over the summer, I did work on a summer project. I actually ended up winning third place out of all the interns. I beat some of the engineers. But I ended up working on this project over the summer to better tell the Marshall Space Flight Center's story. And Marshall Space Flight Center is the name of the Huntsville location. Anyways, that's not the point of this story. I interned, had a great summer, and it was amazing. Like, I learned a lot. I got to meet a lot of amazing people. I was doing something I had not heard of. Like, in college, I wasn't exposed to this idea of strategic communications. That wasn't a thing. And NASA was the first place I learned about it, and I decided I want to do this. I can tell the hell out of a story with written and visual communications, excuse me. At the time, I didn't have all the language for what my skill set was, but NASA gave me that. I'm very, very thankful. I'm forever grateful for that opportunity because it quite literally changed my life. Like, how many people you know get to say, I interned at NASA the summer after my freshman year? Okay, boom. So I interned, that was summer 2014, right? Fast forward, it's now fall 2017. Is it 2017? No, it's spring 2018. Spring 2018. I've graduated. I'm in grad school. I'm doing my thing. Currently working for the state of Delaware government. I had a really, really amazing executive assistant, specialist job. Amazing boss. Like, amazing boss. I love her. Love, love, love her down. So fast forward. College is great. I graduated. I'm in grad school, getting my master's in public administration. I'm thinking that I want to, work in the public sector. Child, we're going to come back to why I don't want to do that. But I'm at this job and I'm like, this is cool, but I'm over it, right? I'm over it. I had learned a lot. I'm not going to lie. My boss was really amazing in that she really let me shape my role. I was on a grant writing team. I was traveling with her to very important meetings for some of the nation's top healthcare advisors for their respective states. Like, it was great. I was more than an executive assistant, more than a level 1 comm specialist, and it's all because of her. But I was feeling like my potential was not really being maximized. So I started looking for a job. Plus, I was a little homesick. Again, I was in Delaware. All my family was still in Alabama. I only had a little bit of family in Delaware, but not a lot. So, looking for a job, I came across this contract opportunity at, guess where? NASA, right? So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the same office I interned for 4 years ago. I need to call in the people that I connected with, right? Now remember Kevin? I still had Kevin's information because, listen, pause story, networking. I could have just had a great summer and told Kevin thank you and been on about my business, but no. I kept in contact with him throughout the years. I let him know of major milestones, like when I graduated, when I got accepted into grad school, other internships I had secured. Like, I just kept him updated along the way. Now, I'm not going to say he always responded or we always got on the call and had a chat and all of that. That wasn't the case. But the door was open and the relationship was built, right? Side note, I want to learn how to do my makeup even better. I feel like I do a good little 1-2, but yeah, I need to book me like a one-on-one with somebody. Anyways, because this story is getting long. I come across the job and I'm like, oh shoot, let me text and email Kevin, right? Text and email Kevin. Guess who gets an interview? Me. Y'all already guessed by now, I get the job. But before I get the job, I fly down to Alabama for my interviews because this was before the world of virtual work. Like, girl, we was in the office. This is before the world of virtual work. So I fly down. Thank God for me saving my money and all type of stuff. But I go to my interview, things go well, and they make me an offer. And one of the girls who actually interviews me remembers me from my summer at NASA. And she was like, oh my God, Jaye, how have you been? We would love to have you, woo-de-woo-de-woo. Now, granted, I'm sure they were interviewing other people, but all I need is the interview. If I can get the interview, I'm going to knock your socks off. In addition to that, I know they remembered me from the 4 summers before because I made myself known to everybody. Like, I was in everybody's office all the time, learning, helping, because I was so intrigued by the work. I had never been exposed to anything like that. Like, I really took advantage of the opportunity. So everyone in the office remembered me. And when it came down to it, they made me the offer. And boom, I returned to Delaware to pack my belongings. It was a bittersweet transition, but it was so worthwhile. And that is how I worked at NASA. I guess for a final concluding thought as I wrap up this makeup, or not even thought, but point to note, what I did at NASA, because people always ask me what did I do, because I told you I was not an astronaut. That would have been cool. I mean, not an engineer, my bad. Obviously not an astronaut either. But at NASA, as an executive speechwriter, I was essentially a ghostwriter, okay? The way our center was set up, there were 4 center directors. No, there was 1 center director, and like 3 directors that reported to her. But those 3 directors like were over everything at the center. So one of them was specifically focused on the engineering that happens at NASA. So he was the main guy, like the top dog for all things engineering related at NASA. Another guy was more so focused on like the personnel. I don't want to say HR, but like down and inside the agency. So like what's going on with HR, where are there gaps with culture and morale, things like that. And I honestly forgot what the other person did. It's been a while. But essentially, I was a speechwriter for that office. Now, these 4 people are the top dogs. Like, they meeting with the president, the vice president. Their bosses are headquarters, right? So it was a very real honor and privilege. I'm not even gonna lie, to work with them. I did struggle with imposter syndrome for a little bit, but I quickly got over that when I realized, like, you that girl. Always have been, always will be. I was 23 at the time, and definitely dealt with a lot of the isms, but I learned a lot about myself and just about working culture as a whole, because I've never worked somewhere where I wasn't one of few or the only one. I'm trying to get my thoughts together. Like, I'm talking faster than my thoughts are formulating. But yeah. So I wrote for all four of them. And when I say speech writing, it's very much your traditional speeches. The center directors would give speeches all over the city, the country, the state. I mean, they were booked and busy before booked and busy was a thing. And I was on point for speeches for them. Now, I was not the only speech writer. I will say that, because I don't want y'all to think I was doing it all by myself. But I was one of, how many was it? It was two of us. I'm like, wait, how many was it? It was two of us. And we were responsible for all of their speeches. Now, sometimes our boss would write some speeches as well, depending on the level of it. But essentially, me and my coworker were in charge of the deliverables for the speeches and the presentations. So the speeches could range from talking points to give to Congress, all the way down to middle school assembly, encouraging girls to go into STEM. Like, it ranged so much, which was so fun, but I got burnt out. So, I got burnt out so fast. I think I mentioned I only worked there for a year. And a part of the reason that it was short-lived was because the burnout. I'm not even going to get into all the other stuff. But I did leave on my own terms. I will say that. But the burnout played a big part in my decision to leave. All things considered, I wouldn't change a thing, though. I learned a lot. I really, really did. And I am so thankful for the experience that I had, because one, I was so fortunate that I had that summer internship that essentially got me in the door. Like, who would have thought that 4 years after an internship, I would get an opportunity to go back? So that was one thing. Like, oh my gosh, super, super thankful. But also the exposure to a different type of communications. Now, people really trying to, for lack of a better word, shit on students who major in communications, not realizing, especially in 2024, 2025, social media, that is all communications driven. But I'm not going to get on that rant right now. All that to say, I am very, very thankful for the opportunity that I got. I learned a hell of a lot. I really did. And it really was the launching pad for my career, because now I get to say I worked at NASA. And it's not to say like I'm that girl. Actually, I mean, it is to say I'm that girl. I be too humble sometimes. Like, my friends and my family be like, you couldn't, if I worked at NASA, please. I would never shut up about it. Maybe I need to start popping my, you know what, more. But very, very thankful. And would not change it for the world. Would I go back? Well, do pigs fly? I'm just kidding. I don't know. At this juncture, no. But it's not anything against NASA. It's more so government. And I'm not going to make this a political conversation. But for me and my working style, I am definitely a creative. And in government spaces, there isn't a lot of room for the level of creativity that I have and that I can bring to an organization. Yeah. And I've learned I can't do too much hierarchy. It gets too much, especially in a field like comms, because it's like you suggest something that could be really good to do, but it has to go through 18 different people. Like, please, the moment is over. The moment is over. So yeah, what else? So all of that to say, you never know where next opportunity will come from. Internships are very, very important. Oh my God. I've been preaching this for years. I've been out of college for, I think, 7 or 8 years now. And I have been preaching internship, internship, internship. That's why people cannot find good quality jobs, because they haven't done any internships. Internships are the key. Like, I can wholeheartedly say I am where I am today because of internships. Like, quite literally, the salary I was making, shoot, even at NASA, I have doubled that and then some, okay? But it's only because of internships. I cannot lie. Whew. So if you have a college student in your life, shoot, if you are a college student, please, for the love of God, get you an internship, because that will be your gateway into the working world. Okay, I have to get my act together because, girl, it was taking me out. And I did my lip off camera. Nothing special, child. A brown pencil and NYX butter gloss in the shade Fortune Cookie. Y'all probably already knew that. And then I'm gonna go over with this NYX gloss, just something that's in my makeup bag, because my good matte lip gloss is downstairs. Nonetheless, the experience I had quite literally changed my life. And I like telling that story because I am a regular person. Like, I'm not a trust fund baby. I didn't have a lot of connections going into college. I actually didn't think I was going to go to college at some point, which is crazy because if you know me, you know, like, I was an all-A student in high school. Was involved in everything. Editor of the yearbook. I was in the band, like, all the things. But that's another story for another day that I'm sure I'll tell at some point. But yeah, I'm a regular person that worked really, really, really hard to get where I am. And I have grown to recognize that everything quite literally happens for a reason. Like, I didn't want to go to Delaware State. Some days I still be thinking back like, I should have went somewhere else. But at the time, I didn't have a lot of options. Just given my circumstances with my family and home life, I did not have a lot of options. And I recognized that Delaware State gave me a fresh start. It gave me a new start, honestly, because my life could have went a totally different way. And so I have grown to deeply appreciate what the university means to me and for me, because without it, I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity at NASA, which means I wouldn't have worked there 4 years later. And quite literally working there 4 years later is what has catapulted this version of me. Because I have to be honest, when you tell people, oh yeah, I worked at NASA, I've done work for the White House on NASA's behalf, it's like, oh shit, she knows what she's talking about. Yeah. Big J, never the little one. So I just rest in that. I rest in that. All that to say, because the story time has gotten long. I'm way past the 20 minutes I thought. But don't despise small beginnings. You never know where your next opportunity will come from. And please, for the love of God, intern. It's never too late to intern. Intern, because your life can quite literally change. All right. that's it for my story time. Let me know in the comments what other stories you want to hear, what questions you have, and I will see y'all on the other side of this content. Get ready with me.